welcome guys, we are playing Cuphead. I'm just doing a bit of like commentary this time. I know this isn't what I usually do, but want to see if you guys like that. Anyhow, I do this blood test, right? Every half a year I just do a blood test. It's for health reasons, it's nothing serious, and almost every time when you get the results, there would be like one aspect that's just off. Right? It's like, your like blood sugar is too low or something like that along those lines. And usually that's completely fine. It's like my mom gets stressed for a second, like, oh my god, is my child just gonna die tomorrow? And then like we go to the doctor that reviews it, and he goes like, yeah, you good, you good. um so it happened again, basically. Like there was two things in my blood test that were kind of weird. You wouldn't like to see them. My mom assumed, again, it's fine. It always, I just died from a muffin. How can life get any worse than this? Anyhow, my mom assumed, we good. We good. As usual, the doctors are bluffing. But the doctors told my mom, hey, I'm not a professional at that specific thing, but you should probably get it looked at by a family doctor just to make sure your child won't, like, die. And she was like, yeah, fair enough. So we went to the family doctor, and he was like, hey, okay, I looked at the charts. Have you drinking more water recently? And I'm like, yeah. How do you guess that? That's cool. And he's like, yeah. So two things. You might have diabetes. Also, I'm pretty sure your kidneys are just gone. And I'm like, hello? What? How? You can't just start a conversation like that. Like, hey, dude, kidney failure. He like talked to me. Well, there's a chance. It's not 100%, but if I had to bet, I would say that you have one of those things. And I was like, okay, that's good to hear, I guess. So what am I supposed to do? And he's like, well, to check if you actually have either of those, you should get a blood test, another one, just to see that like the doctors weren't just doing some like goofy job, because we don't want to base everything just from like those specific numbers. So I did the blood test again, and if you know me, I just hate blood tests. I do them like 12 times as much as a regular person does, but I just hate them. But I did it again. I felt like a real professional, and the same results basically came back. So my mom was like, that just does not look good. So we contacted Die. I have a super. What you gonna do? So we contacted the family doctor again, and we were like, you good? And I'm dead. And we were like, is this good? Am I gonna die? And he's like, yeah, okay, this is the same result. Go do two things. You need to go and do a urine test, and you should also do like this ultrasound thing for your kidneys to see that if you're fine. And he said it's very important to do those as soon as possible, because if you do actually have either of what I suspect you have, it's really not good to wait. If you have like a tumor in your kidneys, that's just not very good. You should not be waiting. Hey, you're dead. Scale issue. And I was like, okay, so like do the tests ASAP. And he's like, exactly. We get each other now. So the urine test, you can literally just submit it tomorrow, and we'll be good. And I'll see when can I get you guys the kidney ultrasound. Okay, yeah, no, 2 weeks. And I'm like, huh? So you're telling me I can have a tumor inside my kidneys and no one will do anything about it for 2 weeks? And he's like, yeah, kind of. Okay, so I did the urine test, and the doctors told us after a while, you know what? We think it's fine. And then, and I quote, they said, if your child... I won. I'm the greatest. Anyhow, they said, if your child ever passes out, collapses on the floor, that type of stuff. Okay, I'm not quoting them. If your child ever passes out, just contact us. We feel like that might be correlated. And I'm like, who sends messages like that? Hey, if your child just decides to die one day, talk to us, okay? So the 2 weeks go by, and I get prepared to get the kidney test. So I look at the instructions. What am I supposed to do? And they tell me, okay, don't eat anything 4 hours before the actual test. And I'm like, okay, that's easy enough. When is the test scheduled? 9 a.m. And I was like, well, I wake up early most of the time, so I'm gonna be fancy. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wake up at 4 a.m., and I have a full hour to make myself breakfast and be fancy. So I do that, and then we go to the test, and she starts scanning my tummy, and she goes like, hey, have you eaten anything recently? And I'm like, yeah, 5 hours ago. Why? And she's like, no, you shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, that's the instructions you gave me were 4 hours. What do you mean? And she's like, well, 12 hours is way better. We just assumed you wouldn't eat anything either way. And I'm like, you could have just told me that. I have no problem with skipping breakfast. It's not fun, but I can do it. And it was, so she tried like scanning me for however long that was. It was 25 minutes according to my mom. It felt like it was a lot more than that, but you know, ow. And she was like, yeah, no, I can't figure out if what you have is some actual medical problem or if that's just the way your kidneys are built. So we're gonna call the main nurse. She's a pro at this, and I'm like, let's go. We're getting professional over here. So she calls the main nurse, and she looks, she's a woman. She looks about like 30-ish, and she tells me, you remind me of my son. That's why I allow myself to touch you, because she was like religious. Just a note, I'm 15. 30 minus 15. The math does not add up. It just does not. It was certainly interesting. Like I glanced over at my mom, like you seen that shit? Am I hearing what you're hearing? But okay. So she scanned me and she was like, well, again, just like the previous nurse, she wasn't really sure what the hell was going on. So she was like, well, literally, how did I die? She said, well, we'll contact you if we were actually able to find anything. And okay, I was like, that sounds chill, I guess. Hopefully, listen, if they can't find anything obvious, I should be fine, right? So then they just did not contact us for like a month. And I was like, okay, so I guess we're chill. So I asked my mom about that. Like, hey, what's going on with it, I just want to make sure, that everything is good. And she's like, well, you should have a meeting with like their professional doctor that should be looking over it in about 2 weeks. And I'm like, what? What have they been doing this whole time? So apparently they just refused to like send it over email or anything to that very doctor. So I have to like go and meet him and show him the footage of my kidneys. I don't know either what the hell is going on. All I know is that I might just have like a problem, and everyone's just seems to be oddly chill about it. Well, I don't want anyone to get like actually seriously worried about me. If they didn't contact me, that usually just means you're fine. Like if they can't recognize anything that's obviously bad, then usually you're just doing good. Relax, dude. You can't play the victim card. But we'll see. I feel like it would be so funny though if I actually ended up having like some kind of problem in my kidneys and no one would know. Anyhow, that's about it for this video. If you actually like this, tell me, because it's really fun to make. Oh my god, I can like speak about myself. That's just all I want all day. Anyhow, see ya. Also, there's this video. I forgot to mention it, but ooh. Look at that video. It's in the middle of the screen. You can click on it. It's kind of awesome, hopefully.